Hello everyone. For this activity we are going to be working with color adjustments, and we're also going to be working with using the history brush to do a color replacement, and then we're also going to be working with layers and groupings. So I've already gone ahead and opened up the files in both Photoshop and Photopea, but here in Photoshop we're starting with Uber for frogs. And what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to look at some destructive edits. And what destructive means is that they basically change the pixels, but don't keep the original data, so that if you were to save your work, you wouldn't be able to access the original image in its original state. So we're going to first of all go to Image, Autotone, and watch what happens. So it kind of brightened up the image, and so that's what Autotone does if an image is a little too dark or not high contrast. If it's low contrast or dark, it will make it brighter or high contrast, and it will also do the same. If it's too high contrast, it'll make it normal contrast, or it'll bring it down in terms of brightness if it's too bright. So the next thing the instructions have us do is undo. Go back a step in history. So in this case, edit, undo. And you can also accomplish this by doing this in the history window. So if you go to Window, History, you can click on the thing that we last left off on, which in this case is opening the file. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to Image, Auto Color, and see what happens. Alright, so before the image was a little more greenish. So what this does is it made it a little warmer. It kind of popped out some of the warmer colors, and it also kind of brightened it. So you can see auto color kind of fixes the coloring in the image. So now we're going to go back again. So Control Z will do that. And we want to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. And what we want to do is just go ahead and adjust the brightness and contrast using these little sliders, and just adjust it however you like. You can see what happens if it's too bright or too dark, and so you can kind of adjust it accordingly and manually this way. And when you click OK, oh, and by the way, if you don't see a preview, you can click this little preview button. When you click OK, it commits the changes, and so these are, again, what are called destructive edits. And we want to go ahead and save this as after. So you have a before and after image. So save on your computer, call it after.
Good afternoon, Gators. Happy Tuesday afternoon.
So this last part, you are going to go to Image and then go down to black and white. I believe it's actually under Adjustments. Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And what you will find is this little window will pop up, and you can essentially adjust how each color is addressed, whether it's viewed as a darker or a cooler, darker or a brighter color in the image. And so if we're looking at green, obviously there's certain things that had more green than the other colors. These leaves down here, for instance. So when I adjust this, I can make those green things darker. And so on. You know, there's a little bit more red in the eyes. Now, what we want to do here, though, is you can play around with those sliders, but there's also these presets, and you can kind of see how they impact the image. And so what I want you to do is just choose a preset from this list. Just go through and try it out, and then click OK, and then File, Save As, and then we're going to call this the name of the preset we used. So if my preset was, hold on, if my preset was Maximum Black, then I would save this as Maximum Black. And then turn that in. In Photopea, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to Image, and then if you go to Autotone, you can see, okay, it does the same thing that Photoshop does. And we want to go back a step, so I'm going to click back on Open on this little history panel here. And then we want to go to Image, and then go down to Auto Color, and you can see the effect that that has as well. Alright, so now we're stepping back one more time. Click back on Open, and then we're going to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, and Contrast. And again, try moving the sliders around, seeing what happens. Click OK. File, Save as PSD. And it's going to be a little tricky for you guys who are working with Photopea because you can't save as. So we're saving this file again with the whole black and white thing. So if I go to Image, Adjustments, Black and White, you get the same window. You also, another big difference is you don't get the presets. So in this case, just try out the sliders, see what works, what you think is interesting looking, and once you've done it, click OK, and then go to File, Save as PSD, and you're going to get a Uber for Frogs with a 1 and an Uber for Frogs with a 2. You're going to end up turning both of those in. For this next part of this activity, you guys are going to end up desaturating an image, meaning you're going to make it grayscale, black and white, whatnot. But then you're going to recolor parts of it. And what this effect is called is a color splash. But we're going to begin by opening Flower, which you should have already done, or you should have already downloaded it at least, in Photoshop or in Photopea. And so once you've opened it up, the next thing that we're going to do is go to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. And once you've done that, your image should turn black and white. And then we want to go to the history brush. And so if you go to this icon here, it looks like a brush with a little kind of curly arrow pointing out from it. And you select that. Basically, this is just like the brush tools. You can use the brackets to make your brush bigger and smaller. What it does is it goes back a step. Wherever you paint, it's painting what things were like in its previous state. So before we saturated or desaturated this image, it was color. So if I paint over the flower petals, I can recolor them the original color because we're undoing what we did last to this. And this again is another type of destructive edit. So go ahead and color in a couple of petals and try this out and see, what you have. And that's pretty much what we're going to do with that. Now, there's a step in here that says find 2 more pictures on Google and do the same exercise. You can skip over that. But the next thing that we want to do is I want to show you guys how to unlock the background. And so if you just go down to the layers down here and double click on that lock, actually you don't even have to do that, you just click on it and it goes away. That lock, basically when you're working with a background, the background layer, it makes it so that it can't move, but now it can. So that's basically how that works. Now, we're not going to be doing much we're not doing much with that other than making it so you can duplicate that layer. So what you want to do is right click and go duplicate layer. I've already done that, but once you've duplicated the layer, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to choose the color replacement tool. So if you go down the list here, let me see if I can find it. There we go. It's under the pencil, and you choose color replacement tool. Then what we are going to do is choose a foreground color. So I just picked this yellow, and you just color over another couple of petals, and you could actually change up the colors here a little bit. So I can do I'm just going to do her school colors since I have them selected anyways. And as you're doing this, you'll notice, like, if you make a mistake, what you can do is actually use the eraser tool, because we have the original background image there. So again, in case you missed that, we're using the color replace to choose a color. Whoops, I don't know why it erased. Hold on, let me try that again. Color replacement tool. You're choosing the color from there, and I'm using the screen now. And once you've colored a little bit, if you happen to go off the edge here a little bit and color outside of it, you can go down to the eraser tool, and because we have the original down here, when you erase, it's going to erase that layer that you're on. So as you can see, like, I can go through and I can re-erase the color. But if I turn off this layer, you can see that checkered area is the transparent area in that top layer. Alright, so likewise over in Photo P. In Photo P, we do not have the art history or the history brush tool, but what we do have is color replacement. So what we're going to do first is go to Image, Adjustments, and we are going to go to Desaturate down here. And once you've desaturated, we want to make sure that we have the color replacement brush selected, and that up here the blend mode is on color, sampling is on brush center, and the other should reflect these same things. And if you choose a color from here, whichever color you like, and start coloring, I have no idea. Oh, sorry, I didn't click OK. Sorry, you got to click OK, and then start painting over something, then like one of the petals, then you should be able to do the same kind of effect with the color splash that we had in the other image. In case, or in Photoshop, in case you do mess up though, you do have that background still, so you can do you can use the eraser and you can erase part of it. So go ahead and save your work, file, save as PSD, and then you're going to go ahead and turn that in. Okay, so for this last thing, I'm basically just going over layers here just to help you guys with that. And there is a file that you should have open called Convention, and we're going to do this in both Photoshop and Photo P again. But you need to make sure that the layer that's called Panel is selected. And if you don't see your Layers panel down here, go to Window, Layers, and you should see it. So we want to start off with going ahead and clicking on the Shift, holding down the Shift button after you've clicked on Panel, and we want to choose the Read the Classics layer. And you'll see a little link looking icon down here. It looks like a little chain. And when you click that, you'll notice that there are little link icons next to both of these labels on here. And if you use the Move tool now, you can see that It's just moving around this white thing, but we don't quite know what's underneath unless you hide it using the eye. And so what the link's doing is it allows you to, whenever you click one of these, you're basically moving the other, you're doing the same thing to the other layer. So if I go ahead and put this back in the middle here, the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a group. So to create groups, basically what we want to do is click on the new group icon, and that is this icon down here at the bottom. Looks like a folder kind of. And when you click that, you'll get a little thing on the layers that says group 1. And so what we're going to do is we're going to call it text and press enter. Once you've done that, we're going to drag the Read the Classics layer into that text group. You'll see it turns into a little blue square when you drag it from where it was to there. And what that did was it put it in this folder, and it also put it above the panel layer. And so once you've done that, then we want to drag the, So what we've done is we've dragged the panel layer into the text group, and we are going to go ahead and put that underneath the Read the Classics so it stays in that same position. You can change the position within a group, as you can see, but we want to have Read the Classics over panel. And the other thing we want to do is to show you how groups work. It's mainly for organization purposes, but you can click on this little icon here, this little arrow, down pointing arrow, and it collapses the group. So you can see how that could be helpful. So go ahead and file, save as, and call it My Convention. And once you've saved it, turn that in. In Photopea, let me close that up. The same things are here. The icons are pretty similar for group and the link here. So if I go back into here and click on panel and Read the Classics and click the link, and then I go into Read the Classics and panel, either one of them, and use this move tool, it moves them both. If I create a group and drag panel in there, not panel, Read the Classics into this group, and here it's called folder 3. I'm going to actually call it text. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Now I can see the same thing I saw before, that Read the Classics is this text layer that we couldn't see before. And again, I can drag panel up into there, and you can see it indents a little bit to show that it's in that group. And I can collapse the group. Go to File, File, Save as PSD, and then upload that, and you are done with today's activity.